everyone. Welcome back to the Children First Family Law podcast. I am glad you're here to join me to talk about the most important part of any family law case, the children. I'm your host, Krista Nash. I am a family law attorney in Colorado and Wyoming, and I've spent my career focused on advocating for children and helping parents navigate family transitions with hopefully clarity and more compassion. Today's episode, you've got me solo. I decided we needed a deep dive into the most emotional, perhaps, or one of the most emotional and high stakes issues in family law, relocation. What happens when one parent wants to move with the kids? Can you just go? What does Colorado law say? Is it considered kidnapping if you move without permission? And what does a judge actually consider when deciding whether a move should be allowed? Whether you are the parent thinking about relocating, the one staying behind, or a professional working with families, this episode is for you. Let's walk through what the law says, and let's never forget what is at the heart of every one of these cases, the well-being of children. So first, let's talk about the basics of what relocation means in Colorado. In Colorado, the word relocation has a very specific meaning. It doesn't just mean moving across town or to a new neighborhood. Legally, a relocation is any move that would substantially change the geographic ties between a parent and the children. That could be a move out of state, usually is. If it's a move out of state, it's going to affect the geographic ties. But it also can be a move within Colorado that's far enough to disrupt the parenting time plan, like going from Denver to Durango or Fort Collins to Grand Junction. And in the Denver metro area, which is becoming, as we all know, much more congested every time we seem to turn around, sometimes we're now having arguments about whether or not it's a substantial geographic change, even when it is from one point to the end of the Denver metro area. Usually that doesn't go forward as a relocation, but I certainly have had when there's maybe an hour or more drive or something of that longer than that nature, it can certainly be considered a relocation. The law doesn't give strict mileage or strict minutes drive during the worst traffic to school, but certainly we consider all of that. It really is looking at the practical impact. Can the current parenting time schedule still work or not? And the court really does handle relocations differently depending on timing. If the move happens before you are in having your final parenting plan orders, then the court treats it as part of the original custody decision and applies the best interests of the child standards that it does in every pre-decree case. And those we have talked about in detail on another podcast, but you can either go find that or you can look up Colorado Revised Statutes at C.R.S. 14-10-124, which will give you all of those best interests of the child standards, factors really. But if the move happens after final orders are in place, it is considered potentially a relocation under Colorado Revised Statute 14-10-129-2. If you're looking that up, it's 14-10-129 and then parenthesis 2 end parenthesis. And the court follows a specific legal process to evaluate it. Either way, though, the guiding question is the same. Is this move in the best interest of the child? So I want to pivot and talk a little bit about something I think is very important for everyone to understand, if you don't, which is that you have a right to move, but not automatically with your child. So I'm going to then get into whether or not a move might be considered kidnapping, because I get that question a lot too. And we need to talk about the kind of in the weeds about how courts handle relocation cases, but let's clear up a really important legal distinction first. As an adult, you have a constitutional right to move, and that is from the United States Constitution, which protects your right to travel freely between states, live wherever you want, and pursue new opportunities. So if you're thinking, wait, I'm allowed to move for a better job, right? Or to be near family, yes, the answer is you're absolutely right. You are allowed to move. But the critical part is this: your right to move does not automatically include the right to take your children with you. And that's sort of jaw-dropping reality for some parents who think that they can just take their children because, well, they're their children. However, we now have two parents and we have a court that has jurisdiction over the children. And therefore, we have to carefully handle that. You don't have the same rights to take your kids that you would have before. So once you're divorced or separated, again, even if you were never married but have established custody orders, The court has authority over decisions that affect your children. So the court can't stop you from relocating, but it can absolutely say no to you taking the children with you. And you might have a great reason to move. Like I said, a better job, a safer neighborhood, more support. But even with all of that, the judge's role is not to decide whether your move is a good idea. Even with all that, the judge's role is not to decide whether your move is a good idea. It's to decide whether your child's move is in their best interest. Next, I get a lot of questions about long distance parenting and travel costs. And so, one part of relocation cases that often gets overlooked is who's going to pay for all this travel. For example, uh, a parent moves to Hawaii and the kid is living still with the other parent in Colorado. Who's going to pay for all these trips to Hawaii? What if you have a really little kid who has to either have the parent fly with that child um, or or have somebody chaperone the child? And what if it's to Europe, or what if it's some other big international setting? So, and even I have cases where kids are shuttling back and forth between the East Coast and Colorado. So their parent might want them to come just for 3 days, but they're shifting on these like red eye flights, shifting time zones and coming back tired to school, and it can be very, very disruptive. So you really need to think about all that. But I want to mention the costs, and I can tell you that when parents live far apart, the cost of getting kids back and forth can be enormous. And while it is important to understand that pursuant to statute, it does say that the cost of the child's travel is going to be assigned proportionally to income. Now, I have seen some courts, I don't think this is statutorily supported, but I have seen some courts sort of punish the relocating parent and make them pay more. I've seen some situations where parents have voluntarily offered that, but statutorily, it really should be proportionally to income for the cost of getting the child there. And if that means that you need a chaperone, then sharing the cost of that. Oftentimes, I see one parent fly one way or drive the child one way, and the other parent fly the kid or kids the other way. But you really need to think about it. Sometimes they split it 50-50. Sometimes people can get creative using frequent flyer miles or meeting halfway or things like that. But please do know that our statutes do require, in our child support statutes, you will find this proportional to income for moving to going to see parents in both the places that they live. And that really chaps the parent that doesn't relocate. They get very, very frustrated about this, but it is what it is. And so you need to be aware of that. If you need more help with this, listen to the rest of the podcast, get some co parenting counseling, and let me give you some final advice. If you're the parent considering relocation, I urge you to be transparent, talk to the co parent about it, make a detailed parenting plan that shows how you're going to support your child's connection with the other parent. Be really ready to show why the move is in your child's best interest, not just yours. And really, really think about whether you need to relocate and what the costs are to your child to not have that day to day every day with your kids. Are there with the other parent? Could you do some other things that would potentially maybe not meet your needs as much, but would actually fashion a better plan for your kids? If you're the parent staying behind, keep your focus on the child. Explain how the move might disrupt their stability or relationship with you, but stay respectful. And the more child focused and cooperative you are, the more seriously the court will take your concerns. That doesn't mean that the child won't be able to move. But for both of you, please don't put your child in the middle. Consider child inclusive mediation. We do that work. I'm happy to help you mediate and include your child in that so that we can really figure out what would be best. And that's going to be dependent on how old the children are, which states we're talking about, which countries. There's a lot that goes into this. But if you're going to relocate, put your kids' pictures in front of you and really think about what this means for them to have to go with you somewhere. And think about if we can fashion either a great plan to meet those needs better to affirm the other parent's engagement in the kids' lives, and consider whether you need to move at all. Be kind and put your child's needs above everything else.